Hello everyone, welcome or welcome back to my channel. Fun fact, I'm actually nearly finished filming this video, but I've started editing it and realised that the introduction was really quiet and not the vibe. So I'm here to refilm the intro, and if you make it to near the end of the video, you're going to see me looking like this sat here again. But anyway, no need to cause confusion. Hello, welcome or welcome back. In this video, I'm going to be reading books that I said for one reason or another that I would never read. Some of them are because they're not my taste. Some of them are because they are my taste, but they got really bad reviews by people that I tend to have the same book taste as. Some of them are because I've actually read from the author before and didn't like their other books. There are a multitude of reasons in this video as to why I was never going to read these books. However, I've been, not in a slump, but I feel like every book I've been reading has just been okay, bar like a couple. I feel like I'm not loving a lot of the books that I'm reading at the moment, and I don't love that. I want to love the books that I'm reading. So that's how I came up with this video. I thought, why don't we read the books that I said I wouldn't read, because maybe they'll be good. That was the logic. So yeah, without further ado, I am going to let the next clip roll where I talk about the first book that I read in this video. The clip is slightly quiet. I do start talking a bit louder as the clip goes on, but I filmed it when my boyfriend was asleep, so I was trying not to be too loud. I didn't want that to be the opening of the video, but here is past Phoebe to talk about the first book that we read for this video.
The first book that we're going to read for this video is When the Moon Hatched by Sarah Parker. This is a fantasy book that is rather long. I think it's like 700 pages. I don't have the physical copy because I'm reading it on Kindle and audio. It's quite complicated to explain what it's about because I don't actually know. Basically, we've got our main character, Rave, and she works for a rebel group. She's like an assassin, I think, for a rebel group. Obviously, I don't want to spoil anything. And also, it's hard to spoil anything because this book is confusing. I heard a lot of people say this, and it's one of the reasons why I was put off reading this book. So I suppose before I go any further, let me tell you why I was never going to read this. A, is long, which isn't inherently a problem. I actually really like really long fantasy books sometimes, but this was long and didn't have the best reviews. A lot of the people that I watch who I tend to have similar opinions to said that this book was really confusingly written, that the world building was not good. I can put up with quite a lot in books, to be honest, but bad world building doesn't tend to be one of them. I tend to really struggle if the world building is bad, whether it be too much, not enough, badly done, for whatever reason it isn't great. I tend to struggle with that if that is the case in a book. The thing with this book is that it feels like it's trying to make things that should be quite simple different and complicated for no reason. So just as an example, the word day is spelled D-A-E instead of just D-A-Y. Grandma is spelled with a H on the end. Grandpa is spelled with a H on the end. And there's a whole glossary of all these words, right? But I just feel like that's not a substitute for world building. Just changing a few words to be spelled differently even though they mean the same thing. And this happens a lot, like instead of day it's day with an E, and then instead of night it's slumber. Like, just say day and night and like make the world interesting in some other way. I'm finding it really hard to conceptualize this world and what it looks like and what is actually going on. But I am intrigued. The main character intrigues me. It can go one of two ways when female characters are strong-willed. I tend to really, really like it most of the time, but sometimes they can be strong-willed to the point where they are stubborn and refuse to take help where they need it and make bad choices when they had an easier, good choice right in front of them. I hope that isn't the way that this book is going to go. I am very interested in the whole like revenge thing. I'm only 25% through. And it's quite a long book, so we've got quite a lot left to go.
Hello everyone, it is now the next day. I can actually speak properly now. I am of course still reading When the Moon Hatched, and I am now a bit further in and I'm still confused. So I understand what is happening in each scene. Like, I can track the fact that they're like doing this and speaking to this person and going to this place. That's fine, I get all of that. What I'm really struggling to understand is why any of this is happening and how it actually fits into the wider world. That's the bit that I just don't get. I feel like the world building has been so lacking to the point where it's really hard to understand anything, the wider context of anything that is going on. The romance also seems to be coming out of absolutely nowhere. I'm not sure where the male main character's personality is at this point in the book, but it doesn't seem very on the page, and that therefore makes it hard. Like, don't get me wrong, they're not together or anything at this point in the book, but that is making it hard to even see the potential. Like, there's starting to be sprinklings of, obviously, you know who the romance is going to be between, and there's starting to be little sprinklings of that starting to develop, and I just don't get it. I don't get it. It's just coming out of nowhere for me, and that seems like everything in this book is just coming out of nowhere. The things that I thought would be interesting, like this book has dragons in it, they're playing like no part. They keep popping up, but they don't, it doesn't feel like they're actually a part of this world, like they're not doing anything that really, I don't know, lends itself to them even being there. I don't know, guys. I am struggling with this one. Not struggling in terms of like it's difficult to read, because it isn't. When I first heard people saying that this book was like difficult to understand what was going on, I thought they meant that it was written in a complex way, but it isn't. It's written in quite a simple way for the most part. I'll get onto the writing a bit more in a minute. It's written simple enough that I can understand, like I said, on a base level what is happening. I just don't understand why anything is happening, but not in a like a fun, intriguing way. Just in a, why aren't you telling me this way? Like, there's no need for everything to be this hidden. Like, I don't know, it feels like a poor way of creating tension, because it's not creating tension. I'm just annoyed and confused. Like, I'm not intrigued. I'm reading this because I'm reading it for this video. Like, I just don't actually care about it at all, because I don't understand it enough to care. So that's my thoughts on the plot. The characters are fine. Like I said, I'm not seeing very much of the male main character's personality. The FMC is very, very strong-willed at points. It's a bit irritating, but she's fine. Like, I can deal with her. She's not irritating me as much as I thought she might. So that is good. I just wish I understood a bit more of, like, we see a lot of her being annoyed and wanting revenge, but I wish we saw a bit more of the reasoning behind that. And I don't know, just a bit more of just an emotion other than anger, I think would help to feel a bit more connected to her. Because right now, all we're really seeing is her anger, and obviously it's kind of hard to relate to anger when you don't fully know the source of where it's coming from or fully understand how it fits like into her personality, because being angry at the moment kind of is her personality, which there's definitely scenarios where that's like understandable, but in this one I don't feel like we know enough still to understand why she is the way she is. But hopefully that comes. That's not irritating me too much. What is irritating me is the writing. I couldn't quite put my finger on what was irritating me about it. So I looked at a couple of Goodreads reviews, not ones with any spoilers, just very general reviews. And someone pointed something out that's very much resonated with me, and this is the problem. The dialogue is very modern. They use a lot of modern like swear words, quite like intense swear words. They speak in a way that like how we would speak. But then the other bits of the writing that aren't dialogue, like the descriptions and things, is really overwritten, but not in a nice kind of lyrical, beautiful writing way, to the point where half the paragraphs in this book don't mean anything because they are so overwritten with so many adjectives in them that it's like, I actually don't know what you're trying to say. You're being overly metaphorical, but not in a smart way where I have to like sit and figure it out. It just feels like the author got a random word generator, generated like 20 random words and whacked them together in a sentence sometimes. Like it's it's too metaphorical to even have meaning, and there's too many adjectives to make it easy to follow the sentences in this book. And again, I've said this before, I've read a lot of books. I have an English degree. I've read some very insufferable, very overwritten books, but it just doesn't work here because it contrasts way too much with the dialogue. And I also think it's difficult for you to use over, I don't even want to call it flowery because that sounds positive. It's not even flowery. It's hard to get away with using overwritten language. I don't think that phrase makes sense, but you know what I mean. It's hard to overwrite and to use so many adjectives and so many metaphors when we also lack world building, because I don't even know what you're using all these words to describe, because you're not telling me anything concrete about this world or about what's going on. It's just a lot of words that don't mean anything to me because I don't get it. So yeah, that's my thoughts right now. It's not looking great, but obviously I am going to carry on. Like, I'm not angry at the book, I just feel nothing. due to my lack of understanding. But I feel like, I don't want to say lack of understanding, because it's not that I don't understand. Like, I understand what is happening in the book, I just don't understand why or where it fits in with the world. And it's getting to the point where it's like, you can't get away with this much longer. Like, a lot of books, you know, you kind of don't fully understand why things are happening, but you can see that it's going to be explained in the story. I fear it's just never going to be explained in this book. But yeah, that's my thoughts. I find it quite hard to talk about my thoughts on this book, because everything I'm saying could be wrong, because I'm having to guess so much about the book. But anyway, I'll probably come back to you now when I've finished, to be honest. Unless my thoughts massively change for the better, hopefully, then I'll pop back in. But if things just kind of keep ticking on as they are, I will just come back in now when I've finished this one and let you know whether I should have stuck to my guns and not read it, or whether I was wrong, and whether it actually ends up being a good book or not. We shall see.
I think even for me, filming looking like this is a new low, with the bad lighting and the heatless curler, but this is going to be an extremely quick clip. I'm just sat editing this vlog, and I've realised I never rounded out how I felt about When the Moon Hatched. I gave it 2 stars. My thoughts didn't change. I didn't enjoy it. I didn't get invested. By the end of the book, I was so confused. Why is half of the stuff we need to know in a glossary rather than being in the actual book? Beats me. It's been a couple of weeks now since I read it. I remember absolutely nothing about it, so I think that tells us all we need to know. 2 stars. Everything I said before stands. On to the next book.
Hello everyone. I am back with my next read for this video. It has been a couple of weeks. I've been reading things for other videos, but the next book that we're going to read for this video is Never by Jessa Hastings. Now, when this was announced, I was like, well, I'm going to read it because I love Magnolia Parks. I love the way that Jessa Hastings writes. And then the reviews for this were so god-awful that I said I would never read it. Everyone that I watch, pretty much, except maybe, did Rachel Catherine like this enough? But I think pretty much everyone else either DNF'd or hated it. It's obviously an interesting way to go into a book, knowing that everyone kind of hates it. At least with When the Moon Hatched, she had mixed reviews. The reviews on this aren't very mixed, they're just bad. It's basically a Peter Pan retelling, and that's really all I know about it. Because the book was released quite a while ago, I heard all the bad reviews at the time, but I've kind of forgotten the nuance of why the book was so bad, which I think is a good thing, because even though I'm going in knowing people don't like it, I'm not going in knowing why. So I'm not looking for specific errors or specific things that are going to annoy me, do you know what I mean? But yeah, I haven't started the book yet. I thought I would come in and tell you before I started it. So I'll pop back in when I'm maybe like 10% through, let you know how I'm getting on initially. And yeah, we will see how this goes. Hopefully better than When the Moon Hatched. Are my hopes very high? No. But hopefully I'll be pleasantly surprised. Why am I kind of liking this book? Why am I kind of liking it? Now, for the first 5 pages, I wanted to DNF in anger. The first 5 pages were really annoying me. So basically that bit was just our main character, what's her name? Forgot her name. I never know anyone's names. This is not reflective of the book. She was basically talking about her family's past and their previous encounters with Peter Pan, who is the MMC in this book. And the way she was describing it was so obscure. And I don't want to use the word flowery because it wasn't even nice. It was just obscure and really overwritten, and I had to use my brain so much to figure out what on earth she was saying. If the rest of the book, if a lot of the rest of the book carries on in that way, I don't know if I will make it through, but after the first 5 pages or so, the writing style is just completely normal again. As soon as we got to the part where we were in the present, just describing what she was doing and some of the dialogue, that's completely normally written. So I'm hoping that most of the book is going to be easier to read, as these last few pages have been. I am only still about 15-20 pages in, by the way, so let's not get ahead of ourselves. But I just really wanted to pop in and say I actually am enjoying this, because I really did not expect to from those first few pages. I thought I was going to have to come on here and say, guys, I've DNF'd after page 5. But no, I'm still going, and I'm actually looking forward to reading it. That's the craziest bit, is that it isn't feeling like a chore. And again, with 15 pages in, this could very much change. But for now, it's not feeling like a chore. I'm actually really looking forward to picking it up later. Guys, I don't know. Maybe I'll actually be one of the very few people on earth that like this one. The average Goodreads rating for this is 3.2 stars. That is so low for Goodreads. A 3-star rating for me isn't bad, but to have that low of an average rating on Goodreads, that is bad. Oh, I just wanted to say as well, everyone in their review says the characters are annoying, and everyone is exactly right. The characters are really annoying, but they're so annoying I feel it must be the point. I don't think they could be this annoying by accident. I think the author has made them annoying on purpose, which I think is slightly easier to deal with. Like Magnolia Parks, every character in the first book irritated me to high heavens, but I still ended up loving the series. So I feel like maybe it's just a Jessa Hastings thing, that like it's the point that you're supposed to hate them at first. I have no idea. They are annoying, but I'm okay with it right now, but we will see. I'll pop back in when I'm halfway through and let you know my thoughts. It's a few days later and I am now halfway through Never. And I'm really conflicted, to be honest, on how I feel about it. I've been flicking between the Kindle and the audio. I was reading it really, really slowly on Kindle, so I started listening to just the odd chapter or so on audio. I think I definitely prefer the Kindle version, so I'm gonna read it majority on there. I'm not obsessed with the audiobook, but it's helpful for just getting me through the book a little bit. But anyway, I am really conflicted with how I feel. Let me take these off because they're noise cancelling and I feel like I can't hear myself properly. I'm enjoying the book, I am. I'm having a good time. However, we're not really learning anything about the setting. Like, we're on this whole other planet of Neverland, or planet, place in the clouds, whatever it is. We're there, but we're not learning that much about it. I was really hopeful at the beginning that the world building would be good. I felt like it was solid enough at the beginning. Like when she first arrived and she was talking about the layout and where the different people live, I was really interested. And then all the story has focused on since then is a love triangle. And I'm not hating the love triangle, don't get me wrong, I hate one of the love interests, absolutely hate. And I'm really hoping she doesn't end up with him, he's a creep. I don't mind the fact that there's a love triangle. What I do mind is that that is all we are focusing on. There is no plot, which again, fine, I don't need a particularly in-depth, intricate plot, but there's no world building or anything either. It's literally just the romance. And I feel like if this romance wasn't happening in a fantastical setting, the romance would also be boring. The romance has only got any substance because of the world we're in, except we don't really learn that much about the world we're in. What I kind of wanted from this book was more of like an Emily Wilde vibe. That series is very atmospheric. There's definitely a plot, there's a romance, but it's not super like high stakes or anything. It's just vibes, but well-written vibes with good world building and good character development. And I feel like this book doesn't have that. The characters don't seem to be developing, as I've said 18 times now. No world building. I don't know. I feel like, what is this book trying to be? Is it a fantasy or is it not? Because if it's a fantasy, well, obviously it is a fantasy, but if the aim of this book was to like really focus on the fantastical elements, it's kind of failing in that. And if that wasn't the point of the book, I question why it needed to be a fantasy. I feel like this book would potentially be better suited to going down the same route as like the Never After series by Emily McIntyre, where it's reimaginings, retellings of Disney tales, but in the modern world. I feel like maybe this book would have sat better with that instead of having it in the fantastical setting. Make the characters just be in our real world and kind of do the spin on the story that way. Because, yeah, I just feel like the setting is trying its best to add something to the story, but it's just not really hitting, which is a shame. I'll probably just pop back in now when I've finished this book. Hello, please excuse the appearance, I've been out all day. I finished Never last night. I needed to collect my thoughts before I spoke to you about it. So you know how last time I was like, I'm really hopeful, like it's not perfect, but I'm really hopeful that things are going to kind of get better. I gave it 1.5 stars. 1.5 stars. Basically, everything I said before stands. The lack of fantasy in this so-called fantasy book, next to no continuous world building, no real understanding of what Neverland is like, all of that stands. And then, oh my god, for someone that tells us every 2 minutes that she is smart and clever, what a dumb bitch. Dumb bitch. I am so sorry. What was this book trying to do? Is this supposed to be like some dark romance? Because I don't really get it. Peter is awful. Absolutely awful. Just horrific. He calls her stupid all the time, which I mean she is, but that's not his place to say. That's my place to say. She is stupid, but that's not the point. He like gets in her face, screams at her, calls her stupid. I don't want to say everything he does because I don't want to spoil the book for anyone that just want to read it, but he does a lot of stuff both to her and not like directly to her, but that involves her and hurts her throughout this entire book. And then, oh, where's the character arc? Like, I don't understand. In her own mind, she doesn't even like reprimand him really for these things. Like, I just don't understand why he's getting away with everything that he's doing to her. And then our other potential love interest in the triangle, Hook, I prefer him. I definitely do. I think mostly that he is an okay character. But then again, there were a couple of times, like as the book went on, that it described that he was like screaming in her face. And I just hate that. Like, don't get me wrong, I understand why he was annoyed. Like, him having to watch her and Peter be friends or whatever the fuck they were doing must have been so frustrating, because Peter is awful. But that just doesn't excuse for me the way that he got in whatever her name is, Daphne's face. I was like screaming at her. That would just never excuse that for me, no matter how annoyed you are. So I don't really like either of them, to be honest. If I had to choose, I would choose Hook, but I would just choose that, like, go home. Don't end up with either of them, babe. Just go home. I don't understand. It just, yeah, it didn't get any better. It got worse and worse and worse. All of the problems I had before, it's like the book just focused on them for the last 50%, and it just got worse. 1.5 star. It made me very, very angry. I just, oh, I can't. I actually can't. So that's book number 2 done. And when I said I was never going to read it, I shouldn't have bloody bothered. Anyway, on to book number 3. I am about to have a shower, get cozy for the night, and then I am going to start God of Malice by Rena Kent. I say I'm not a dark romance girly. That's not specifically true. I don't mind reading darker books. I think I've found that what I'm not the biggest fan of is when it's the relationship itself that is dark. So for example, I read and really enjoyed the Mindfuck series, because whilst that was very, very dark, very gruesome, very graphic, please check trigger warnings if you want to read it. It's incredibly dark. It isn't the relationship that's dark. The relationship is definitely dysfunctional, but it's like, do you know what I mean? The dark things that are happening aren't our 2 main characters doing them to each other. I don't mind books that are very like graphic and dark, as long as it's not them 2. I feel like for me it needs to be like them 2 against the world. I've never read Rena Kent before, but that isn't the impression I get when people talk about Rena Kent books, and I might be completely wrong. Obviously I'll pop back in when I've read a little bit. I'll probably pop back in tomorrow when I've read some of it tonight. But I just get the impression that that's not what Rena Kent does, and that her actual relationships in her books are the dark bit. But I could be completely wrong, or I could be right, and maybe I'll enjoy it. I've not read a massive amount of dark romances, so maybe I will enjoy it. I'm definitely going in with an open mind, but I did originally say I would never read anything by Rena Kent, because everyone says that her books are like really, really dark. I think I heard someone list off the triggers once of one of her books, and I was like, she's not the author for me. Alas, here we are. We're going to try and read a Rena Kent book. But yeah, I will pop back in probably now tomorrow. I'll try and read a decent-ish chunk of it tonight, which will probably mean I'll like read 10 pages and fall asleep. But I'm going to try, and we will see what my initial impressions are tomorrow. Hello everyone, it is now the next day. I read approximately like 15 pages of God of Malice last night before I got too tired. It was just taking a lot of brain concentration. A, because it's darker, so it's not like easy breezy, but also the descriptions and everything at the beginning are very vivid. There's a lot of metaphorical language, which I do like, but I was on the brink of falling asleep last night. So what I've decided to do, because I also don't know how I feel about it, I really don't. I don't know if this is going to be the book for me. I'm going to give it at least like 50 or 100 pages, ideally 100, but we'll see how I feel when I get to page 50. I at least want to give it that to see how it goes, because I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's badly written. I'm just really not sure if it's for me. And I know the point of this video is to like read books that I said I was never going to read, but if I'm 100 pages in and I know that I don't like it, there's kind of no point finishing it. But anyway, we will see how I feel when I get to that point. What I've decided to do so that I can dip into that book when I'm in the mood for it and give it the best chance is read another book that I said I was never going to read, but it is very different from God of Malice. So I'm also going to be reading This Summer Will Be Different by Carly Fortune. The reason I was never going to read this is because I liked but didn't love Every Summer After. I hated Meet Me at the Lake with every fibre of my being. I hated that book so much. So I really wasn't going to read any more Carly Fortune. However, this book was only 99p on Kindle, and she's got a more recent release, One Golden Summer, and everyone is loving that. So now I've got FOMO and I kind of want to read that one, because a lot of people that didn't like the same ones that I didn't like I really like in her new release. And I don't think it is a series. I could technically skip straight to the newest one, but because this was only 99p anyway, and what I do like about Carly Fortune's books is the summer vibes. They have very good summer vibes, and I am going on my summer holiday in a couple of weeks. So if nothing else, I'm hoping this book will at least kind of get me in the beach mood. And yeah, at least we've got that, if nothing else, with this book. I'm going to be switching between God of Malice and This Summer Will Be Different. I keep forgetting what it's called. I keep wanting to say Every Summer After. That's the first one. But yeah, I'm going to be swapping between the two depending on the mood that I'm in. I'm about to sit down and have my lunch, so I'm going to try and read some God of Malice now, see how we're feeling, and I will pop back in when I've read quite a bit more, because I'm very early on in both of them. I finally caved and got some mini mics. Don't worry, I'm not going to use them all the time. I know some people find them like really annoying and distracting. I purposely got them for when I go on holiday. I don't even know if I've mentioned in this vlog, because I'm doing so much pre-filming. I'm going on holiday in a couple of weeks, and I often get up quite early, and the way that the place that we stay in is laid out, if I'm getting up early and trying to like vlog and chat about books, it's gonna disturb other people. So I wanted to get some mini mics just so that I can vlog more when I'm away and actually talk about the books that I'm reading, because I plan to read a lot whilst I'm there, and also just for general public vlogging, which I find a bit nerve-wracking. I think this will make it a bit easier, and even just around the house, like on the weekends where my boyfriend's still asleep and I'm up and I'm in the mood to film, I'll be able to use these little mini mics. I hope this is working, by the way. I have no real idea how to work these or what the audio is going to be like, but hopefully this is working. Anyway, enough about the mini mics. I've read a little bit more of God of Malice, and it's getting better. It is getting slightly better. I still don't know if it's for me, but I'm still going to carry on because I'm not hating it. Like, I am hating it, but I'm not. I'm kind of hating it, but I'm also very intrigued by it. It's like I can't stop looking at it, but it's just a bit of a disaster. You know the vibe? Yeah, not much of an update to give. I just wanted to test my mini mic. But yeah, I'm still reading God of Malice, and I think I'm liking it ever so slightly more than I was the last time I spoke to you. Hello everyone. If you're watching this all in one go, yes, I have just filmed the intro sat in the same place, looking the same, wearing the same thing. However, I have now finished This Summer Will Be Different, and this summer wasn't different. The summer was the same as the other summers. I didn't hate this. I didn't. I think it is probably, to be fair, my favourite of Carly Fortune's books that I have read. But that's not saying much about this book and saying a lot about the other two, because this wasn't great. I gave it 3 stars. Like, it was fine. It wasn't bad, but there were definitely things I didn't like about it. So first of all, I didn't really get the whole vibe of Prince Edward Island. I had to Google what it looked like to understand the vibe, and I feel like other people have said that this book is really atmospheric. Maybe it is if you've been there, but for me, I don't know, I didn't get that like summer feeling, which is what I want when I read a Carly Fortune book. I want to feel like I'm on a beach. And unfortunately, I just didn't feel that whilst I was reading this book, which was sad because that was basically the whole reason I read it. I also thought the romance was underbaked, to be honest. It was just the same thing happening over and over and over again until, oh, one day, look, we're in love. Like, that doesn't really make much sense. It wasn't a very satisfying romance for me. That's not to say I don't like them together. I actually did really like them together by the end, and I wanted them to end up together. I just wish their story had have gone differently. It felt as if their whole friendship, relationship, whatever, was very stilted and very stop-start, but not in like a well-written, purposeful way, just in a bit of an annoying way, to be honest. And also I found the past chapters quite boring for the most part. So this book is told in dual timeline, get now and then chapters. And at first I really liked the then chapters. I felt like they were actually adding more to the story than the now chapters were, because in the now chapter she was just talking about flowers all the time. But as the book went on, the past chapters were just like the same over and over, like eat oysters, shook each other. Like, that was it. It felt like there was no development. It truly felt like I was reading the same past chapter over and over and over again, and it just got very tedious. So yeah, I gave this book 3 stars because I don't feel like strong dislike. I don't feel like a strong hatred or a strong dislike towards this book. I just kind of feel nothing other than ever so mild irritation, which isn't the sign of a great read. And I don't actually know how far in I am, maybe about a quarter of the way through God of Malice, and I hate it. As predicted, I don't like it. There's multiple things about the book that are bothering me. I'm not loving the dark aspects. As predicted, it's the relationship that's dark. It's not just that he's like a psycho, but not for her. Like, please read the trigger warnings at the beginning of this book, and please take them so seriously. You know, sometimes trigger warnings, and I think this is a good thing, that trigger warnings are given even if it's like a very minor trigger, just so people are aware. That is not the case with this book. The trigger warnings are, they mean it right from like the beginning of the book. They are there. So please take them seriously. It's not that the book is kind of triggering me, luckily. It's just annoying me. So I think my main problem is, so we've got this really dark MMC, and obviously I hate him, he's literally a psychopath, should be in prison. Of course he should. I don't know how I feel about romanticising that, to be honest. I'm not sitting here and saying like I disagree with anyone who loves these books. That's not what I'm saying. I just personally don't know where I sit. I've not heard enough people's point of view, I think, to form like an overall opinion on dark romances of this nature specifically, with like non-consensual acts in them. Let's put it that way. I don't know how I feel about romanticising that. I don't know much about Rena Kent, so I don't feel like I can make a kind of judgment call there, but I know that I feel uncomfortable with it personally. Not judging anyone else, I personally feel uncomfortable with it. What I also don't like about the book, so obviously that's the major thing. I'm about to say something that's really trivial, and I don't want you to think I'm putting these on the same level. That's the main problem with the book. However, also the side characters are really, really not just annoying, but I think badly written. We've got one side character who refers to himself as his lordship in the third person. So you're telling me I'm supposed to be reading a book about a psychopath, like an actual psychopath, but we've also got his creepy lordship that I'm supposed to... Why are you in the same book? I'm not understanding. And then one of the female main characters, who I think she's the new... I honestly can't decipher between the new girl and the not new girl who have suddenly become best friends. One of the two of them is also really, really annoying and uses like very kind of cringy language. And in this book, they used IG. Like, they didn't even say Instagram. You said IG to me on Instagram. And I don't know, it's just... I don't understand how these like weird juvenile characters are fitting in with the psychopath, because like I don't feel like they're written juvenile in like as a choice in terms of to create a really big contrast between the two sets of characters. I just think they're badly written, and I might be wrong. Maybe Rena Kent wanted those like weirdo characters on purpose. I don't know why, but maybe she did. But I don't like them. Anyway, I don't like the psychopath. I don't like the other side characters. Not a fan. But I'm not going to quit yet. It's very easy to read, which I'm very surprised about. Because at the beginning it wasn't. When we were in the FMC's head and she was kind of deliberating life, it was very kind of metaphorical and very deep. But now that we're into the book, I feel like it is very easy to read, which I didn't think it would be due to the subject matter. And I'm not saying those scenes are easy to read, but I just mean... purely on a linguistic level, it is easy to read. And it's kind of like something that's so bad I can't look away from it, but I think it's getting to the point where I might look away. I've had to start reading another book, not for this video, alongside it, just to give me a break from this psychopath creep. So I really don't know how I feel, or, well, I do, I don't like it, but I'm not quitting yet. I think what I need to see a scene of them interacting in a positive way and see how he acts. Now, that will clearly not make up for what he's done. Let's get that clear. Like, there's nothing he can do to redeem himself. There's literally not one thing he could do in the history of the earth to redeem himself. I'm purely just intrigued. It's like a car crash that I can't look away from. I'm just intrigued to see how Rena Kent is going to try and write a relationship into this book, because I've not got to that bit yet, and I am baffled. But anyway, I'm going to continue reading it, and I will come back to you either probably when I've finished it or DNF'd it. Apologies that I'm sat here like some next snowman, wrapped up in a big blanket. I am freezing. Despite the fact that it's August, it is freezing in England today. Anyway, I'm here to round out this video. I DNF'd God of Malice. I cannot do it anymore. When I came and checked in last time and said I was 25%-ish through, I wasn't. I was 18% through. I made it to about 22% and I just had to DNF. I couldn't do it anymore. I was really considering DNFing for a while before I actually did. The real sticker came when I was describing to my boyfriend what the book was about, and he actually asked me to stop because it was making him so uncomfortable, and I was like, yeah, it kind of is that bad, isn't it? And it's just, yeah, it wasn't going to get better for me. It didn't matter what happened in the rest of the book. It wasn't going to redeem anything. Again, I'm not here to judge people who like dark romances like that. You do you, I'll do me, and that wasn't me. So
I just decided to DNF. It was making me feel physically nauseous, and I have emetophobia, so I have no interest in feeling nauseous. But anyway, that's that done. Thank you so much for watching this video. I think what we've learned is that I should trust my gut, and when I say I'm not going to read a book, I probably just shouldn't bother. But thank you anyway for watching this video. Please give it a thumbs up down below if you did somehow enjoy this. Subscribe if you haven't already so you can see me read some books I actually do like, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!